Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. Got a lot to get to on this lesson, so watch to the very end. Right, so I'm gonna get into some. That's why we're supposed to be studious, and why people. A big part of why people don't believe the truth because they don't study. They don't know what nothing is. You tell them to point things out on the map, they don't know. They'll just say things because they've been taught to say things from Christianity, but we actually study over here. We're supposed to be like scholars. We're supposed to be these scholars. So I'm gonna get into this, proving that the so-called Jews were so-called black people. And we go into geography, we go into archaeology, we go into it all. So let me get into this video. I'm gonna play about 3 minutes of it, but it's very important information that he's gonna go into, and then I'm gonna get into the receipts. I'm gonna prove everything that I'm saying. And I'm gonna get into like another little short video, just, so you can understand what's going on. So watch this Edomite.
Land and this biblical site of Lachish or Lachish. I am really excited to be here with you. I've been waiting a long time to talk about this particular event and this place. So at this biblical site, we'll be looking at the location of this place and why that's so important. We'll talk about the historical background of this location. We'll be looking at some of the amazing places of interest at this site. We'll see the key events in the Bible that took place here, and we'll end with a faith lesson in order to learn the major lessons God desires from us at this important biblical site. So I think you'll find this video very enlightening and transforming to your life. Some major things happen here that are mentioned throughout the Bible, so we're going to be looking at these and some of the historical
And I want you to overlook this Christianity. I'm doing this to get to a point to prove something very important to you that you probably never saw in your whole life. So overlook the Christianity spin. We know they're gonna do what they do, but we in here for the truth. So let's keep going.
Background and the location. So follow along in this important, really interesting video to see all that God did at this special place. Was the last stronghold. Well, welcome to the Holy Land and this biblical site of Lachish or Lachish. This was the last stronghold that the Assyrians conquered before going to Jerusalem. And right here you can see the evidence of a siege ramp that the Assyrians built leading up to the top of the tell, where they destroyed everyone and killed everyone. And then King Sennacherib, who then went to Jerusalem from the Assyrian king, and he was unable to conquer Jerusalem because...
Right, so I want you to remember everything that you watched. And if you have to watch this lesson again and again and again, you got to do what you got to do to get it. So where I'm going with all this, let me show you. And that's why we say we got the truth, because we know we got the truth. So this is in this book. Matter of fact, let me get my book. If you want to cop this book, I advise you to get it. The name of it is called the Harper Collins Bible Dictionary. So, and what page is this, matter of fact? What page is this in this book? Give me 1 second. This is page 616. So it will be 617, right? So 616 of this book. So this is where I'm pulling this information from, right? And what is this? I'm going to the scripture. I'm going to show you another video to make it all make sense. It says number 1. So this what this is. You see the number 1 right there. And I'm going to show you here. Right there. You see at the top, towards the top, you see 1, right? I'm not making anything up. So let me go what this is. What event is this? This is what you just saw in that video. It says in 701 BC, Assyrian king Sennacherib conquered most of Judah. So these was Jews, so-called Jews from the southern kingdom. I'm going to show you how the real so-called Jews look. Right? It says conquered Judah. And you had Benjamin and Levi that was dwelling in the southern kingdom as well, known as the kingdom of Judah. including the fortress of Lachish. The victory was recorded in remarkable detail on bas reliefs at his Nineveh palace. This scene is poignant testimony to the plight of his victims who were deported with only what they could carry on their back. So how did they look? Let's get into it right here. So I'm going to this picture here. I'm just zoomed in. All right. So let's go to it. And what do you see here? What do you see right there? Let's analyze this. Right. So you see braids and you see dominant so-called black man features. This is how the Jews looked. The people that's in the land right now are Edomites. They're posing to be us, but this don't look like so-called white people. You can zoom in, you can screenshot it. Remember, it's in this book. It's page 616. Not making anything up. So these would be labeled so-called black people. One of them look kind of like Dwayne Wade with braids. And the other one like Carmelo Anthony. The one to the right, if you're looking straight up at it, the one to the right kind of like Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player. And the one to the left kind of like Dwayne Wade with braids. These are so-called black people. This is undeniable, unrefutable proof. These are the real Jews, how they look. Let me show you something else. 1 second. Right, so you won't think I'm making anything up. So this is the video of that relief. We get into it. And this one of them small hatters, Amalekites, Edom. Check this out.
This is taken from the Assyrian palace. Some say it were even the throne room. There are different opinions about it. I don't think it was, but it was a very important conquest for them to dedicate so much time, so much energy to depict this conquest. And conquest of what? Of Jerusalem? No, of Lachish, which is the Hebrew for Lachish.
And he's speaking that Yiddish-based, made-up Hebrew. They're not speaking the Lashon Kodash. You know what I'm saying? The holy tongue. They're not speaking the ancient Hebrew.
We call it Lachish. In Akkadian, Lakitsu. Lachish, it's the same thing. And it says, so here, the Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, whose face, as you can see, was crashed by the Babylonians. Because, like, if you want to insult someone,
all right. So I just want you to see that. So let's go to what is happening in the Bible. All right, 2 Kings 18 and 13. So the so-called Jews, or as you know as black people today, there'll be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. We're not making none of this up. The new reinterpretation of what they've done and with the whitewashing of the Bible, they've made them to be so-called white people, but that's not historically accurate. Them are lies. 2 Kings 18 and 13. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. Let's go here. Let's go here. And you had never learned any of this in mainstream history. Okay, Lachish was a major, heavily fortified Judean city located in the Sheep Allah lowlands southwest of Jerusalem, as you saw in that video showing you the proximity from Jerusalem, serving as a key defense stronghold on an important trade route. So this all is real. This ain't no myth. A lot of you jakes don't know shit. That's outside of the truth. You don't know shit. You don't understand history. You don't understand geography. You don't understand maps. Jake that don't believe in the Bible. You got them Kemet ninjas out of their fucking mind. And this gets me upset because Jake don't know shit. And I'm not talking to you brothers and you sisters that's waking up. I get it. You don't know. Right? But I'm talking about the ninjas outside of the truth. Right here. These are so-called black men. And right here. So all this whitewashing, changing the images into so-called white people have played a great witchcraft on your mind. That's why when Jake think about the Bible, they see the whitewashed version of the images that they see today. It says right here. It said it means white, so-called white people, and so-called white people. so-called white people wanted to repaint the color of the Hebrews, which I just showed you, the Hebrew Israelites. And it's another thing, Jake. Mata Zakbar has been doing an amazing job exposing you bug outs. Jake think a Hebrew Israelite is a group. They think it's an organization. It's your fucking ethnicity. Hebrews from Negro to Caucasian, which that's some confusion, right? They're Edomites. Edomites. That's why the book was never excluded from the Bible. This is how Yahweh Shah looked in the 3rd century. This is how he fucking look now. And let's go to some more stuff. This right here, I'm going to get to this in another lesson. I did lessons on this. The cornrows. Cornrows. I think this was in Babylonian captivity, if I'm not mistaken. These were musicians. And right here, why you don't know this? Because the J people, which are Amalekites, they from the seed of Amalek, which was an Edomite. This is who they descend from. They're not the true people of the Bible. I just showed you proof. Right? It says 6 J corporations own 96% of the media. They own Fox. They own the movies, Paramount. All the movies that you see, that's why they've been whitewashed, because they own every fucking thing. Look, Showtime, Paramount, HBO. So any imagery, and they own the magazines, everything. Right here. This is Hollywood Persians. The Persians were dark-skinned people. Even though they wasn't our same people, they was a dark-hued people. They were not Israelites. Just because you got the same skin tone as somebody don't mean you have the same nation. That's another stronghold on you, Jace. Because you're going to have Israelites that come in all different shades. And they're going to look like heathens in some cases because of all the mingling with the women of the other nations. Jake, all the Israelites not going to look like Shaq in today's time. They did at one time, but that has changed. You go back to the seed of Israel. You're Israelite, Hebrew Israelite. That's not a fucking group and organization, nothing like that. That's your ethnicity. Hollywood Babylon, ancient Babylon. That's how they truly looked. Hollywood Egypt, ancient Egypt. Right here, they gave you this big time indoctrination fucking movie right here. The 10 Commandments, which played every pagan Easter, got a witchcraft on these people, man. And they whitewash everybody in the movie. And in this movie, matter of fact, I did a lesson on this movie. I'm going to go back and do another lesson going into they had brown makeup on. Why the fuck would they do that? Because they know something that you don't know. They know that the Hebrews are so-called black people, the Israelites. They knew that. That's why in this movie, they had brown makeup on. But they still use so-called white characters to put that witchcraft through their sorcery. Why did they do this? How did they do this? Because they own all the fucking media. Right? And this is what drives us to keep the passion, because we tired of these lies, man. This is the original Australians. To the top, to the left. Right? Then you go to the Asians, so-called. And then Latin, you know, they was dark people of so-called color. And let me say this too. When they say people of color, they calling you colored. But I got to use that terminology so you can understand what I'm saying. But that's a fucking insult. It says the original Filipinos, which Filipino go back to King Philip. They just name people dumb shit and people call themselves that. The original so-called Indians, which this to be the Northern Kingdom, Gad and Reuben of the tribes of Israel. This is the original people of India. You notice they don't call so-called Indian people from India black people, because they got the same complexion you got. Right here. So-called black people be like, I don't support white supremacy, so-called, but get on their knees and pray to him. How fucking crazy is that? Hopefully this was edifying. Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash. Shalom.